Every person in the world is cunning, and at times, every person shows their true colors. The other name for cunning is a woman. Let's see how it goes. She entered your life like a beautiful surprise, captivating not just your eyes, but something deeper, something that felt ancient, familiar, like a piece of you had been waiting for her long before you knew her name. In those early days, her laughter felt like music, and her attention, like sunlight through storm clouds. But now, a shift you can't quite name hangs in the air between you. Her warmth has cooled, her gaze lingers less, and every word from you feels like it might crack the fragile ice forming between you. You're not sure when it started, but you've begun to shrink in her presence, measuring your words, second-guessing your instincts, chasing a version of her that no longer looks back the same. And while you're busy wondering what changed, something inside you is unraveling. You're no longer grounded. The man who once moved with calm certainty is now pacing, texting, overthinking. You tell yourself it's just a phase, that being caring and attentive is what love demands. But deep within, a quiet dread whispers, what if these very things are pushing her away? What if the rules you were taught to follow, be sensitive, be open, be loyal, are the same rules that have handed over the reins of your self-respect? What if you've stepped into a game without knowing the rules, and every move you thought was right was actually weakening your position? The truth isn't comfortable, but it is freeing. Attraction doesn't feed off consistency or comfort. It feeds on mystery, confidence, and restraint. The moment you start orbiting her world instead of inviting her into yours, you shift a sacred balance. You forget that masculine energy doesn't just hold space, it leads, it creates gravity. And without that gravity, she floats away. This isn't about blaming her. This isn't about pretending not to care. This is about seeing clearly for the first time that her behavior is often a mirror to yours. She loses respect the moment you lose command, not control over her, but control over your own emotional ecosystem. That's the part that matters. That's the part she's testing, even if she doesn't know it. And it is a test, not of your kindness or generosity, but of your presence. Can you stay rooted while she shifts? Can you remain whole while she pulls away? Most can't. Most men bend, chase, apologize, explain, beg, until they vanish into the very energy that repels her. When she starts acting distant, your instinct might be to close the gap, to prove your worth with more love. But attraction is not a negotiation. It is a current, and currents cannot be forced. The more you try, the weaker it gets. But if you stand still, anchored in your self-worth, you give her the space to rediscover the very mystery that drew her in. She doesn't want a man who needs her approval. She wants one who respects his own reflection, enough to not trade it for affection. She wants to feel your strength without you having to shout it. She wants to question herself around you, not because you're manipulative, but because you are simply unmoved. Let her be confused. Let her wonder why you're not chasing. Let her feel the contrast between you and every man who lost himself just to keep her close. The less you try to convince her of your value, the more she begins to see it. And it's in that space, between what she expects and what you actually give, that her curiosity is reborn. Most people confuse presence with control, but true presence needs no effort. It's in your slow breath, your calm voice, your unhurried decisions. It's in the way you say no without fear and walk away without guilt. Women don't want control over you. They want to feel your unshakable calm, the kind of inner world that doesn't collapse at the hint of rejection. And perhaps the hardest lesson is this: love doesn't need your effort. It needs your authenticity. It doesn't want a man who performs worthiness. It wants a man who remembers it. You don't need to compete for her affection. You need to return to the place inside you where her validation is just a bonus, not the source. Don't try to be the perfect boyfriend. Be the imperfect, evolving man who refuses to put her on a pedestal. She doesn't want to be worshipped. She wants to be seen, yes, but not at the cost of you forgetting who you are. And if you must lead, don't do it for her. Do it because you were always meant to lead yourself. Emotional independence isn't coldness. It's the highest form of warmth, the kind that invites her into your fire without needing her to keep it burning. That's what makes her stay. That's what makes her choose you again and again. Not because you're perfect, but because you are complete. She may never say it out loud, but what she longs for most is to surrender. Not to a man who demands it, but to a man whose presence makes it irresistible. A man who doesn't chase, because he knows the right energy draws in everything meant for him. And that's the paradox of love. It comes when you no longer reach for it. So don't ask where she's going. Don't ask why she's distant. Ask why you stopped being the man she was once captivated by. Return to him, not for her, but for yourself. Reclaim the calm, the quiet confidence, the sacred indifference that once made her chase. And let her come to you, not because you need her, but because you've remembered what it means to need no one.